Dr. B.L. Narsaya retired from the Geological Survey of India after more than 3 decades of service in various fields like minerals and their research, etc. As minerals are very useful materials, he has continued interest from his latter research studies till date. In view of the demand for minerals and industrial and high-tech fields and the year 2019 as International Year of Celebrations of the First Periodic Table by Mendeleev, pertinent data of elements is put in a book form with the title of Periodic Table in commemoration of the celebrations. The book is inaugurated at the Getam University in the same year and quiz conducted at other local colleges. The author's interest thereupon propelled to give something of use to engineering students and those preparing for examination to give them a sense of grip and preparedness. A prepared mind in relevant fields faces a situation, be it an interview or profession. This attempt is towards that aim. Almost 150 questions, all centering on elements, are provided by the author with answers. The author prepared periodic table book with multiverse and data. The AVNU channel introduced this book with other voice as part 1. In part 2, detailed 150 questions.
Hello everyone. My name is Dr. B.L. Narsaya. I retired from Geological Survey of India as Deputy Director General. Geological Survey of India is a premier earth science organization dealing with all aspects of the earth, including mapping of the earth, subsurface and surface, and search for mineral resources, energy resources, environment, etc. All these are crucially important for development of any economy. Much more is the relevance of industry, energy, minerals, all as a backbone for any country's development. And all these are fundamentally dependent upon what we say as chemical elements. There are chemical elements. For example, hydrogen is a chemical element. Zirconium is a chemical element. Aluminium is a chemical element. All these elements were of use and will continue to be of use in industry. The science behind these elements is the first landmark, the organization of the elements in the form of a format that is called the first periodic table. This came up in the year 1869 by a Russian chemist whose name is Mendeleev. He brought out the first table. Table is an organization of the elements in terms of the properties, the then known properties of the elements, and the prediction component involved in it is a tremendous landmark because at that time he had not only organized these elements in terms of 2 chemical properties. One is valence, the other is atomic weight or molecular weight. These are the base for his computations and classifications. At that time, modern science has not entered the field. We don't know about an electron. We don't know about electron microscopy. But even then, he had strong predictions about what is the future of the periodic table. At that time, only 60 elements were known, and he was also able to predict unknown elements, and he left gaps in those right places. And fortunately, all those were discovered later. For example, he predicted an element like Eka boron, Eka silicon. All these were predicted later and identified later. And what he identified as the properties also closely paralleled to what was actually determined. It was a great landmark. And year 2019 was considered by United Nations as a year for celebration of the 150 years of the origin of the periodic table. The first periodic table of Mendeleev. World over, academic bodies, universities, colleges, technological institutes, and a number of research institutes in the pursuit of what we say the development of minerals and the future research of minerals. All these celebrated that year 2019. And following this glorious tradition, a small book has been prepared by me, which is titled Periodic Table, A Look. This gives all the salience of the periodic table and what we have developed so far and what are the latest developments till 2020. All these were incorporated, and surprisingly I would say one thing, for about 60 at that time the number of known elements, now the last number of the identified element is 118. The periodic table was completed in its format, properties were identified, and the entire science behind was unraveled. Most importantly, all of you know about what is called radioactivity. What is this property? An intrinsic property of the nucleus of an element. This was discovered later. But uranium was known as an element. Uranium was introduced in the periodic table by Mendeleev himself. But the property of uranium as a radioactive material was identified later. So many scientific developments took place. In the last century, quantum developments also came up forward, and all this electronic shell configuration in terms of quantum dynamics, it was understood properly. We have S shell, P shell, D shell, F shell, progressive filling of the shells, and elements behavior now is understood in a more physical and a chemical sense. All these salients are incorporated, and in commemoration of this celebration of 150 years, I had approached some universities and named colleges and established institutes, and they conducted some seminars in relation to periodic table and the importance of the elements, and conducted some quiz for all the students, mainly graduates and postgraduates, and distributed the prizes. All these were part of celebration of that glorious event of the 150 years of the periodic table. No doubt some institutes on their own also made their own celebrations. Probably that would be there with every reputed institute, but I as an individual tried to do it and bring out this entire book for the benefit and for the development of science, and much more the youngsters who are going to be the future engineers, technologists and technocrats of this country. So a quiz was also prepared in each college. I used to go and conduct a quiz and distribute the prizes to the winners and all that. Some of those questions will be put before you along with the answers, so that the entire thing is of use to the younger community. Thank you.